Hey guys, Marcel here with some helpful advice about your ACE tent. This is some good advice, some good tips, and especially how to pack them correctly, really to get the most longevity out of the tent and to make sure that you're dry the whole time and that you're a happy camper. So ACE uses a two-person dome tent, so it's plenty of room for you and your gear. And so let's go over some of the parts that you should find on every tent. There should be 5 of them. We got the bag, got the poles, we have our stakes, and we have our rainfly and our tent. So that makes 5. So what we're looking for, let's say we're packing up, we're leaving camp. What we're looking for is to fold these bigger parts in a way that they make the width of the bag, okay? So that way, it's not like a stuff sack, it's not like a sleeping bag where we can just shove everything in. We really want to fold it properly because we could damage the bag if we don't do that. So now we've got our tent folded properly. I would recommend that it's about like mailing a letter. Tri-fold. Once over, second time over, now you've got the width. If you just do it in half, it's going to be too wide. If you do it 10 times, it's going to be way too narrow and thick. It'll never work either. So I've got that all done, and I'm going to put my hard stuff, my poles, and my stakes together. I want those things in the middle of the tent because I don't want to shove them in last. They'll poke through, they'll damage the bag. So I'll roll this guy up. Just get it nice and tight as best we can. You don't have to be extreme. You don't have to be like stomping on it or anything like that. But if we do this correctly, we should get something that fits. Here's the part that's kind of a little tricky, is you have to ease it in. Sometimes you have to turn this bag a little bit. But once it gets going, it should be pretty simple. Flip it over, tuck everything in, nice and gentle. Yeah, once you're almost all the way in there, you can tip it up. It should fall right in. And you got your drawstring. Cool. So some other helpful points. What's one thing that you should never keep inside your tent? I think I heard you guys say food. Great. That's perfect. And then we're also thinking about where we set it up too. Look on the ground. Look for any sharp stones, sticks, anything that could pierce through the bottom of the floor of the tent. Also look above you. Things that could break and fall. Land on you, damage your tent, those widow makers or the dead branches. And then we also want to consider, we might see some rain. And helpful tip is that you want to stake out that rainfly as stiff as possible. Use those guy lines, use parachute cord, tie that rainfly out as tight as possible because you're going to stay dry. It's going to make sure the water moves away from the tent. Also look for any evidence of water that could have been flowing around your tent. Little gullies or something like that. You don't want to set up in the middle of something like that. Also on the ground, you want to look for little animal holes, little trees that might be growing. We don't want to put our tent on top of that. We want to find a nice open space. And then if these tents are wet, you don't want to leave them wet in the bag for a long period of time. What happens is they'll start to grow mold. They'll get really that nasty smell. So just make sure that if you have to pack your tent away wet, you want to unpack it in the next sunny day that you have. If I hang this tent up, it'll get dry in about an hour. So do that. Don't leave it out drying overnight. Totally not necessary. But make sure that it doesn't stay wet in the bag for too long. All right. So those are some helpful tips about your ACE tent. Stay safe and stay dry.